What's up, guys? YouTube and Wrestling Universe. I'm here with the results of WWE SummerSlam that took place last Sunday, August the 11th, 2019 from Toronto, Ontario, Canada. And this completed the wrestling weekend. First, I want to mention the concept of the pre-show. Usually they spread the matches out and the rest of the time they talk about the event. My thing is, if we're watching WWE programming and care enough about it to tune into the pre-show, shouldn't we already know what is supposed to happen with the card? Anyhow, SummerSlam is scheduled for 4 hours, including a 2-hour pre-show. Who has time for that, honestly? Why don't they just put all the matches in the same hour and spend another 30 minutes talking about it beforehand for those of us who don't want to miss the actual matches? They usually even interrupt the matches during the pre-show with video packages for SummerSlam. It's announced the pre-show will include Apollo Crews versus Buddy Murphy and 2 other matches, but they don't say what they are just yet. 40 minutes into the pre-show, we have Kevin Owens talking about tonight will be the Kevin Owens show. A few minutes later, the OC walk in to talk with Finn Balor, and they say if he needs their help, just say so. A little before the top of the hour, we start the Cruiserweight Championship match with Oney Lorcan versus Drew Gulak. Gulak retains in a 10-minute match. It was an okay match, just different from the usual Cruiserweight matches that we usually get on the pay-per-views. This was more mat-based and less high-flying. Drake Maverick interrupts the pre-show panel and says he's looking for R-Truth. Truth and Carmella are actually in the front of the table underneath the glass with popcorn. R-Truth says that he's been there since NXT Toronto. Drake comes back out and chases R-Truth around the table. A little later we hear from Natalya in the back, and then next up is Apollo Crews versus Buddy Murphy. During this match, Eric Rowan comes out and attacks Buddy Murphy, causing a disqualification. They show Daniel Bryan watching on a monitor in the back. This match wasn't really that bad, but it was more about the story progression. Next up, ladies and gentlemen, Elias. He runs down Toronto and we get Edge coming out and he spears Elias. Great moment that probably should have been included on the actual show. Next up is Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross defending the championships. Nikki Cross comes out with a somewhat different look to her attire. Their combined attires are representing Toy Story's Woody and Buzz. And they are defending against the longest reigning women's tag team champions, Iconics. Bliss knocks out Peyton, and then she begins climbing to the top rope for the Twisted Bliss. Billy moves in to stop her, but gets caught by Nikki. Alexa winds up hitting Twisted Bliss, and then Bliss and Cross retain. Honestly, guys, the last hour of the pre-show wasn't that bad, and surprisingly, they did exactly what I was complaining about and put all the matches and all the action in the second hour. I would say it's safe to skip hour 1. And it's safe to say you won't miss anything. Seeing Edge the stuff with R-Truth and the attack on Rowan along with the women's tag team championship match gave the pre-show an extra sort of hype that usually doesn't happen and made me a little more ready for SummerSlam, which is what a pre-show should do. SummerSlam starts off with the man Becky Lynch versus Natalya for the Raw Women's Championship. Natalya begins going after Becky's old injured knee, with Becky going after Natalya's arm. At one point, Natalya locks in the sharpshooter on the top rope. Becky later locks in a sharpshooter in the middle of the ring and is booed for it. This leads to Natalya locking in the disarmer. Eventually, after locking Becky into the sharpshooter in the middle of the ring for a while, Becky winds up locking in the disarmer and having Natty tap to retain the championship. Backstage, Kayla Braxton's with Trish Stratus, who says she's the Queen of Queens. Next up is Goldberg versus Dolph Ziggler. Before Goldberg comes out, Dolph Ziggler basically says he's the best and Goldberg fears him. This is a typical Goldberg match. Afterwards, Dolph Ziggler gets on the mic and makes Goldberg come back out and lay him out again with a spear. He then calls Goldberg out a second time, and while Goldberg helps him up to his feet, he attacks him with another spear. Kofi Kingston is warming up in the back and New Day walks in, and they say they have Kofi a good luck charm, and it's Drake Maverick. Basically, this is just a promo of Kofi getting hyped for his title defense. United States Championship match, AJ Styles versus Ricochet is next. We get our announced teams. I see a disguised R-Truth and Carmella in the mix. Drake comes up looking for R-Truth, but they're already gone. AJ comes out with the OC, and AJ tries to keep the match at a slow pace and goes after the knee of Ricochet throughout the match. Carl Anderson tries to interfere as Ricochet goes to the top, but he gets kicked away. As Ricochet flips off the top rope, AJ catches him into a Styles Clash to retain. Afterwards, Luke Gallows hits Ricochet with the Magic Killer. The Street Profits are shown in the back, and Ric Flair walks up and they all woo. This takes us to our next match, which is for the Smackdown Women's Championship, Ember Moon versus Bayley. This is an action-packed and faster-paced match than the last match. Ember is in control in the beginning with hard-hitting action until she misses a crossbody. Bayley then takes the fight to her and winds up retaining after a Bayley to belly from the top rope. While I mentioned a Sasha return, we didn't see it here. However, Sasha did return the following night on Raw and turn heel on Natalya. I guess for some it's good to see Sasha return for those missing that boss time. But I feel with so much talent wanting to be showcased, and then some going about asking for the release the proper way and not getting it, I would rather see someone such as Luke Harper get the spot they deserve, as opposed to someone who whines and complains about not getting their way. With the return of the King of the Ring, why not put Harper in that and utilize him? Props to WWE though for taking advantage of marketing for the 4 Horsewomen Showcase coming into WWE 2K20 by having Sasha return the feud with Becky. At the end of the day, it's all about what makes the money. Back to SummerSlam though. Next up is Kevin Owens versus Shane McMahon. Shane grabs the mic and introduces a special guest enforcer, Elias. Elias, of course, is used to distract Owens and the referee during various times in the match. Shane then tries to get Owens to hit him with a chair as Owens is about to win. Elias pulls the referee out of the ring. Both referees wind up down and the crowd want Kevin Owens to grab the chair. Elias is back up and he gets the chair instead. As the original referee is back up, he takes the chair from Owens as he goes to hit Shane with it. As the referee gets the chair out of the ring, Owens winds up kicking Shane with a low blow and then winds up hitting a stunner for the win. Trish Stratus versus Charlotte was a really good match, but sees Trish Stratus tap out to the figure 8 in the end after Charlotte hits a big boot. Charlotte leaves as Trish is alone in the ring, and we get the thank you Trish chants. Trish shows that she can still go and look good in this match. In the beginning of the match, it was mostly Trish dominating. Charlotte gets the advantage, and then we see Trish's resiliency as she fights to come back. At one point, Trish locks in the figure 4 and turns it into a figure 8, and we get the usual moves you would expect to see from Trish. However, while I'm not a Charlotte fan, I think the right woman won to move forward. Next up, we see Seth Rollins in the back all taped up, and Bret Hart comes up to him and wishes him good luck. Next match is for the World Championship, Randy Owens versus Kofi Kingston. I think Kofi should win this simply to overcome one more obstacle from the past. However, I think Kofi should lose the title soon. Kofi comes out with New Day, but then they go back to the backstage area. The match ends when both men are counted out while Randy is taunting Kofi's kids. Kofi then goes wild with a kendo stick, and then the camera shows his son smiling. We'll get a Trouble in Paradise, and then Kofi raises the title, and then he goes to celebrate with his family. I think ending the match in this manner can help carry the story forward, instead of moving both men to the next thing. For this reason, I can accept it. It doesn't hurt to have Kofi become more serious, which is what I think Randy is trying to do. In the beginning, Randy continued his mind games, offering Kofi a pancake. Next up is the moment we've all been waiting for, The Fiend versus Finn Balor. Finn Balor comes out dressed in all white, which probably isn't a good idea. We get the usual Firefly Funhouse intro, but it quickly turns dark. The Fiend's entrance and music are similar to Bray Wyatt's, only a lot darker. Bray Wyatt's head has also now become the Fiend's lantern. The Fiend winds up getting the win by using the Mandible Claw, and this ain't no Mr. Sacco. In the end, the Fiend is gone, and Finn Balor is alone in the ring trying to catch his breath, and the fans chant, "That was awesome." I think this Fiend thing could be the break that makes Bray Wyatt go down in history, similar to characters like Mankind and Kane or The Undertaker leaving a legacy. I'm happy to see that the Fiend is getting the approval of WWE as well as the universe, with him being in special content for WWE 2K20 after just recently debuting, and his merchandise is also selling out quickly. Some people say that the Fiend shouldn't have lost control of the match at the one point, and it should have been more of a one-sided thing, but I can see it as a Fiend beginning to lose control of the match right after Michael Cole points out that he's showing signs of the old Bray Wyatt, which could have been the point of Fiend getting the advantage at that moment. This was definitely the moment of the night. Universal Championship is on the line next with Brock Lesnar defending against Seth Rollins. I found myself in a strange situation wanting Brock Lesnar to actually win. I just don't want to see Seth as the champion again, and I'm more hopeful of Brock's next opponent being someone interesting, as opposed to having Seth Rollins feud with someone we've seen before. Seth is out all taped up, and Brock is dancing in the corner, as Paul Heyman lets us know who his client is. This was an okay match that, believe it or not, lasted more than 5 minutes. In the beginning, Seth Rollins put up a good attempt using speed to his advantage. Seth Rollins really plays the underdog well in this match and eventually splashes Brock through the announcer table. Back in the ring, Seth hits another splash and waits for Lesnar to get up. Seth hits the curb stomp and then kick out. We then get Seth going for a super kick, but he's caught into the F5. He winds up reversing the F5 and then he hits the kick to the face, followed by a curb stomp, and Seth Rollins regains the Universal Championship, having the men's Money in the Bank pointless this year. Guys, that was SummerSlam 2019. I absolutely loved the Fiend debut and enjoyed this Trish Stratus return. But I hate that we didn't see anything with the 24/7 championship. But since it was included on the pre-show, I really can't count that against the pay-per-view as a whole. SummerSlam wasn't a bad pay-per-view, however, it wasn't amazing. It was definitely a step up and in the right direction for WWE pay-per-views. I'll give SummerSlam tonight a special yowie wowie rating, because I was pleasantly surprised and there weren't any of those moments that would have me disappointed. Even things I didn't want to happen were still acceptable overall. Please leave comments, thoughts, and opinions, and let me know what you thought of the show, as well as all the aftermath we've seen on the WWE weekly programming. On Raw, it was announced that we're also going to be seeing the return of the King of the Ring tournament. I think this should be interesting, and hopefully it will be used to elevate and not just be a waste of time. I also like that on Raw, the Women's Tag Team Championships were defended against the Kabuki Warriors. This shows that the championships are being defended more often and could become a little more relevant. On the Smackdown side of things, we see the continuation of the Who Did It story with Roman Reigns, and Daniel Bryan supposedly tells us who he thinks did it this week, so I'm definitely interested to see Smackdown this week just because of that. The storyline has me intrigued. Again, guys, comment, like, subscribe, and thank you for taking the time to be here.